Thanks to the other presenters who stole a lot of my content, so which means we may be able to stay on track. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this conversation around building healthy communities, healthy neighborhoods, and really creating that place that we can be fit and to feel that we also fit in. I'll be providing my perspective from being a staff at the City of Calgary and sharing our path to implementing healthy neighborhoods. As mentioned, I am the leader of the Greater Downtown, and we have the ability to actually spend some of that capital infrastructure into building that public realm. So Sophie had that great map that highlights a lot of the projects. And again, invite you to go to the Stephen Avenue project website, as my project team will really appreciate your feedback. The other perspective I'll be sharing is in my former role as program manager for the Main Streetscape implementation. All right. I'm hoping that I'll be able to touch a little bit about policy supporting health, the initiatives that come out of those policies, how do we build partnerships and use them to our advantage for writing those business cases to secure funding so that we can advance some of the great pilot work that Celia has been doing. Just to set the tone, the way that I've been approaching our projects and programs for the center city, the downtown, and for Main Streets is to take that integrated design approach. Sophie explained the benefits and the value of that in facilitating those conversations. I think the other piece that was important for us in terms of writing and being successful in securing capital funding was looking at the sustainment of our programs. So when you're pulling together a package, it isn't just about the design or the pilots or the construction, but it's actually about the maintenance and the ongoing governance that needs to be in place to execute upon that. And then lastly, what are those supporting tools and metrics for decision-making, which again, Sophie already discussed, so hopefully I can move past that quite quickly. I did want to share two images of projects that are actually completed. One is in the downtown in our Eau Claire area. This is our downtown flood barrier and Eau Claire Promenade. And then the other one is one of our main streets. This is Bowness Road in Montgomery, and I'll be sharing some pictures from there. But I think the key piece here was that we created new governance in terms of administration and how we deliver these projects. And so what we've been working at is removing the silos from within administration so that when we procure consultants, they have actually a partner on our side to then help us execute successfully into really building these complete experiences and not just infrastructure projects. And so in terms of policy supporting health, there's the different levels. I'm sure many in this room are aware. For us at the City of Calgary, we have citywide policies through our municipal development plan. At the community level, we have various area structure plans for our new communities and then area redevelopment plans in our established communities. And then lastly, at the neighborhood level, what are those policy and programs that actually incentivize and then get us into building infrastructure for change? So at the highest level at the City of Calgary, we have our municipal development plan and our transportation plan, which is undergoing a review. But really that sets some of the overall land uses, the typology, the broad system moves in terms of guiding the city, but it also sets targets around density, which is important when we're looking at creating mixed uses in our neighborhoods. At the policy level for a area structure plan, I wanted to highlight in 2015, the team that I was leading was able to have the Nose Creek area structure plan approved. This is the first area structure plan that has the vision of building healthy communities. It was something that we incorporated a health impact assessment as a way to guide our decision-making process. But it was really only successful because we had partnership with industry, and we also were able to leverage the relationships and the research through the medical officer of health. This is kind of our trajectory to date. At the end of the day, that policy work enabled us to create the Health YYC initiative. I don't have a document here. Celia and her team have been working with us to actually get us to a completed Health YYC playbook. This is intended to be a reference manual to guide that development process in terms of building at the neighborhood level. you guys are getting the first glance of some of the draft material within this playbook. We take a multi-pronged approach in understanding the different key players in building neighborhoods. And through our planning process, we understand that we need to be able to communicate and share ideas with developers, community groups, public administration, and city partners. But one of the things that we had to focus on was one of our biggest barriers. It was the development industry. They did not want to see any more new policy because new policy was seen or perceived to be more time, which is a higher cost. And so what we focused on at the front end of this document was to highlight that our existing policy actually have supports for health. But then we also identified barriers and also things that were contradicting policies. And so we're hoping to streamline that process for them. Within the playbook itself, it talks about the 8 healthy planning principles. These are the 8 healthy planning principles from the Nose Creek Area Structure Plan. We leverage that to then pull together how we want to communicate the benefits of health when you take on these approaches. And so within the document, we highlight literature and research to support it. We then also accompany that with plays. And so these are a collection of plays that we think will guide us towards building these healthy communities. And within each of those plays, we also look to figure out when you should actually use these plays. And so in order to build that common language between all of those partners that are important in building neighborhoods, we wanted to link it back to our City of Calgary planning process. So if you were a developer and you're coming in and you want to action a play and you're coming in for a development permit, you would flip to the development permit checklist and you could see the number of plays that would be available for you to utilize. And I think the other key piece for us was also empowering the conversation towards health by showing built examples. Because our understanding was the development industry needs those examples in order to secure funding. And so if you want to bring the developer along, you also need to help them be successful so that the banks will sign their checks. In terms of building partnerships, I just wanted to highlight that with the Health YYC initiative and the Nose Creek Area Structure Plan, we took a very comprehensive approach of both administration and then industry partners, researchers, and community groups. It sounds like everybody's doing that and it seems to be working, so let's keep moving forward with that. I'm then going to jump into our Main Streets program. And so that took a very similar approach as well, where we engaged the community early on to understand what are the key themes around what they want to see on their main streets. This is the timeline for our Main Streets program. And the key things I wanted to highlight here was at the front end, the city took the initiative to do land use changes. So in order to get those mixed uses along our Main Streets corridor, the city removed one of the barriers, which is going for a land use application. And that often is risk for a developer because you would go to council and there's no guarantee that the 1 year of investment in time and resources would get you to an approval. So the city started off through this Main Streets program by removing those barriers. They also built the relationships with the community. One of the things I wanted to highlight is that in 2019, when we went to council for funding to build more main streets, we got $0. And so that image on the left is a snippet from a newspaper article. When the community found out we got $0, there was a group called I Heart Main Streets. And this was a group of developers, community groups, business improvement areas, and our professional industries. They came and lobbied, they came and spoke at public hearing, and then we got $30 million. That set us to where we are today. We are at a total of $120 million, improving our public realm for our Main Street streetscape improvements. And we are at about a $1.2 million in operating budget to ensure that what we invest in will remain. I'm gonna skip through a whole bunch of slides to get you to our Main Streets program. So like the two presenters mentioned, having a clear vision and core principles are important to guide your design work. This is an opportunity where I was able to ensure that through the Main Streets program, one of the core principles was social and healthy environment. So every main streets that we design, and when we do this streetscape master plan, they need to incorporate these 4 principles. When we engage with the community, they can set the goals within those principles. But these are not like non-negotiables, because we found them to be critical in order for us to meet the vision, which is to travel less and live more. So that the notion of taking the roadway back away from cars and bringing it back for people. And so we have a 3-phase approach to our streetscape master plan. And in Discover, we understand the opportunities and what the community needs are, and we set those goals and objectives. We all know a street cross-section is very narrow and the opportunities are few. So having those goals and objectives built with the community early on was a helpful tool. So when we go to the explore phase and we bring in options, after doing some technical analysis, we can ask the members of the community which one of these options will enable you to meet the goals and the objectives of the streetscape master plan. It's not about what you like, but it's about how do we ensure that you can be socially and physically fit in the community, feel safe, and be vibrant. And then in order for us to get to the completed streetscape master plan through the engagement, through technical site analysis and internal community review, we again focus everyone around bringing their expertise to help us solve the problem, which is to then get a plan where it can meet the goals of the main streets. It isn't about protecting your personal interest, your professional integrity, or your biases. And so this slide just highlights what we've achieved to date. So in red is what we achieved within the first $60 million, and the white is what we're planning to achieve in this budget cycle for this current $60 million. And we are monitoring to see how our designs are impacting and whether or not we are meeting our goals and objectives. And so here are some quick before and afters, which is my favorite part. And so this is our Bowness Road and Montgomery Main Streets, where it's interesting to note that in every Main Street master plan, when we ask the community what is their highest priority, it's always trees. And so I'll just leave it at that. And so I'll just keep showing you these imageries. On the Bowness Main Street, we did do an elevated multi-use path. We integrated areas of planting, safer crossings, and pageantry and light poles. If you're interested in the slide deck, it'll actually share with you the costs to date for these main streets. But I would suggest that you compare these costs to the cost of an interchange. And I think every municipality will have that information. So I'm just going to conclude that with our program for Main Streets, we wanted to ensure that we had metrics, and so that we can collect data and we can understand it over a long period of time, providing that longitudinal studies for our research partners, so we can also then understand and look at areas that we might want to focus on. And then having these annual reports over a long period of time. It'll also inform us as designers whether our assumptions are correct. But I think I wanted to highlight in this slide is equity. We wanted to use this data so that we can have a data and research conversation with politicians in terms of where administration wants to advise them on where we want to invest going forward. So I guess to conclude, from our Health YYC playbook, which we hope to release this year, and our Main Streetscape Master Plan program, and our Downtown Strategy and Implementation program, we feel that a multi-pronged approach through partnerships, integrated design for placemaking, and metrics can aid in decision-making so that we can avoid the mistakes of the past, check our personal biases, and advise on political decisions, and so that the cost of not building healthy neighborhoods is too great. Thank you.